Like, just pick a name. Rockefeller, Morgan, Stanley,
Did
Chase.
you hear what happened to the Rothschilds?
No.
Several of the Rothschild bankers have committed suicide just in the last 30 days because something's about to break with the economic system. But Vladimir Putin, our supposed arch enemy from Russia, has put warrants out for the Russian Rothschild bankers who have fled to the city of London, the city-state of London, inside the London city. They have fled from Russia after stealing billions in Russian assets and stealing stuff, selling stuff they didn't have a right to sell, and became instant billionaires when the Gorbachev failed and the new system hadn't really adjusted and nobody knew what to do. I think we need to arrest all the Rothschilds, all the Rockefellers.
People need to start showing up at their homes. People need to start showing up where they're at. It happened recently with one of the Walton people ended up going to an event that one of the family members were having and completely embarrassed them in front of everybody. And the American people need to wake up and start doing this on a daily basis with every single one of our crooked and rotten elected officials and the people in this country who are making their millions off of our backs and off of our lives. We're sick of it, and that's why we're here. That's why we're together. That's why all of our families across California have joined together in an effort to end police terror. You will be able to reach us very soon here on the web at www.endpoliceterror.org, where we are building a platform and a national campaign to end terror, working with families from all over the country. But starting off here in California, we have such a network of families who really just had it, and they're just not going to take it anymore. And that's why we're here. We want to plead to the public to open your eyes to see the things that you know is really happening. Mm-hmm. Open your heart to the things that you know in your heart happens in your community and with police officers, and help us by changing the things that are happening so that your family or somebody you know does not face what my family did, which was my cousin was murdered by John Moody of the Manteca PD, and you've previously, I believe, had my cousin on your show and shown the video of my cousin being murdered. My family took a vow that at that time, when we knew that we would not get justice through our council members or through any of our state elected officials or even through the courts, even though we're still going through courts, we knew that we would have to change this on a grander level. We're out here in the streets on a daily basis. Somewhere in California, there will be at least one family fighting, whether it be at a city council meeting, whether it be out educating people, doing cop watching. We're out filming the police. We're out watching the police and the little cahoot they got going on with the tow truck companies in many of our cities to tow away poor people and undocumented people's vehicles. In King City, we recently had 60% of their force.
6 cops.
Yeah, 6 cops, which is 60% of their force, be arrested, including their police chief, their former police chief, and I think the second in command and some other high officials there because of a scam in doing this. And people in El Monte, California are currently having this problem with an Albert's Towing Company who is in cahoots with the city of El Monte and the El Monte Police Department. They're out there tonight cop watching and making sure that the tow truck companies are not violating people's rights. And it's just a lot of corruption going on so many different levels in our state, but at every one of those levels I can guarantee you that the people are standing up and the people are fighting back, because you're not going to kill my family member and think that you're going to get away with it. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. You're not going to kill
but they have, Christina. They have killed him, they have got away with it.
Well, they haven't got away with it yet. Because every single day I'm out there. Every single day I'm out there. I'm fighting. I'm making their lives miserable. We came off of a protest just yesterday where we were protesting the Santa Clara County Sheriff, Lori Smith. We hit her at her re-election campaign. Media is not going to say this, but we embarrassed the hell out of that lady. It was.
Did you get it on video?
We have videos. We have them on our site. But we have families out there, families of A.J. DiValina, who's a soldier that was murdered by Palm Springs police. His family was there.
Who's Andy Lopez?
Andy Lopez, 13 years old, was murdered by Eric Galhouse. sheriff with the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department. On October 22nd, 2013, the day that we were out protesting at the state capitol for the National Day Against Police Brutality. 50 different families and organizations had gathered that day. We had a great, magnificent march in the streets into Kamela HARRIS' office, where we actually took a coffin and laid out 96 roses of people who had been murdered by police. There we had the march that as we were marching, Andy was murdered by Eric Gelhaus. He was carrying a airsoft gun. He would live kind of like in a little rural area. There was a field where the kids would go and, play with their little paint guns. And that's what he was, doing. And he was walking to his friend's house or get his friend to play. And a cop came up behind him who we now know is an expert in guns. He has written for magazines all over the internet. He knew weapons very well. He says that he thought that the weapon that Andy had in his hand, which was an airsoft gun, was an AK-47. He gave, between the time that he radioed in that there was somebody suspicious and the time that he radioed back that he had shot Andy, only 10 seconds had lapsed. And so, we know that even by his own admission, he can't remember if he gave the boy a warning that he was a police officer or not. But basically, the moment that Andy went to turn towards the direction of the officer, he was struck in the heart immediately. And
How old was Andy?
He was 13.
13 years old.
Correct.
Does not get a warning, gets shot.
Right.
10 seconds between the time he calls in and the time he's shot.
And the time they call back to say they're shot. So you got to imagine, you got to call in, you got to stop your car, you got to get out of the car, you got to get in position to shoot somebody and kill somebody.
In a field.
Yeah, he was walking, there was like a field where the kids played at, and it was like right along the street.
Was there anybody around Andy?
Oh yeah, there was people, there's plenty of witnesses. There.
And his officer still hasn't been indicted?
No.
That's a failure. That's a whole system failure, Christine.
Yeah, and
that's just not one bad cop. That's an entire system failure.
Yes, and it's the DA Jill Ravitch. She's the DA up there who, is not giving this family justice. What they are also doing is they're currently harassing the family, terrorizing his family. His family has had to move and are, they're constantly being followed by the police department up there.
This is not the America I went to Vietnam for and risked my life for, Christina.
No, this is a target, and now on our youth.
We are being, the whole nation is being destroyed. They're deliberately hiring toxic cops that have mental issues, that have anger issues. They're deliberately hiring them. This is not just, we hired a few bad cops.
The cop who murdered Alan Bluford has a documented case of, he was over in Iraq and Afghanistan. He came back with a
PTSD.
documented case of PTSD. And also, he worked for NYPD before he came to work for OPD. So this is after he came back from Iraq and Afghanistan with his documented PTSD, then went to work for NYPD. There's a case where there's a lawsuit pending against him, unless it's been settled. I'm not exactly sure the details, but he almost beat a man to death, a Latino man to death behind bars in custody in NYPD. And then Oakland hears, oh wait, we have somebody who is all messed up from his war PTSD, and he almost beat somebody behind bars in custody. You want to know what OPD said? We'll take him. Perfect, is what OPD said.
Yeah.
And I wanna make a point
Isn't
about.
that where Oscar Grant got killed up there in Oakland?
Yes, it is. And
I remember that was New Year's.
It was January 1st of 2009.
And I said within 24 hours, 4 cops, innocent cops, will die.
They did.
And sure enough,
John
they
Hagee,
did.
I know their names.
4 other cops.
Lavelle Mixon was, anyway.
Go ahead, Richard. I just
because I'm getting up to a point talking about this
you only got 5 minutes
officer,
left.
and I'll be really quick. This officer, Miguel Masso, who came back from fighting, supposedly, aren't we over there fighting terrorism? Like, isn't that what we're supposedly doing over in the Middle East? Like, over there. And so we're fighting terrorism. But here in America, you are 8 times more likely to be killed by and this is a fact. I'm not making this up because I hate the police. You are 8 times more likely to be killed by a police officer in America than you are a terrorist. 8 times more likely to be killed by a police officer in America than you are a terrorist. And yet, who does our mainstream media make us more scared of? It's the terrorists, because why? The money. We have to put the money back into that prison industrial complex, back into that military industrial complex, instill fear, and that's the point that I want to make. The police are not here to do their job, which is to protect and serve. The police are here to do their job, which is to be terrorists. I used to call this full-time work that I do now, I used to call it fighting police brutality. And I now have changed my terminology, and this is thanks to Fred Hampton Jr. Thank you very much. I give you a shout out to this. All power to the people. Thanks to Fred Hampton Jr., who his story is the definition of police terror, the way that he came into being into this world. But thanks to listening to him talk, I have now changed my rhetoric, and I no longer fight police brutality because that doesn't make it as bad as what it is. It's terrorism. We are being terrorized. The definition of terror is state-sponsored oppression for the point of pushing a political agenda. The other definition of terrorism is to purposely instill purposely instill fear to create a sense of hopelessness. Both of those things are exactly, and that is when people say the police aren't doing their job, I want to be clear they are doing their job because, like I said, their job is to maintain America with the 3 Ks. So they are actually doing their job. Their supposed job is to protect and serve, but that's not what it is. They murder, beat, rape, violate rights.
And just to add on to that, was that our communities are in fear right now. Because you said 50 years ago, you know, it's just gotten worse and worse, and we are silenced by our
silenced.
fears.
Now you're...
But you know, we have to overcome. People see me and they're like, how are you doing it? Like, you're not, how are you doing this? You're one against like this, all these people. And what if enough people overcame that fear and turned that fear into courage to actually speak out?
That's going to happen pretty soon.
It's hard though with the police. When we were arrested, they made it so clear to us. Christina and I recently, we got arrested after this event. Went into jail on February 13th and got out on Valentine's Day, coincidentally. And what they let us know behind bars, and we already knew this, but what they just said explicitly is we are being mean to you. We are doing bad things to you. Sexual intimidation, physical violence. They are doing that to us, and they told us that on purpose because of the work that you do, because you are protesting police terror. In no uncertain terms. At one point when I was in jail, I was told that I could be, when locked in a certainly not legal stall, not even a cell, like a small room by myself. Nobody knew where I was. I was told that I could be disappeared, that he could do that, and nobody would ever know, and that was within their powers. And thanks to Obama and the Patriot Act, he's right.
Yeah, I have no...
Should I give a really quick stat real fast?
Sure. Go ahead, Christina.
The police officers and the media always want people, and I'm talking to your viewers because, you know, I want them to get real facts and what's really going on out there and not just believe, you know, this pie in the sky dream that all police officers are, you know, there to help you when you need help, because that's not true. But, you know, overall, police officers' deaths are down 21% while on duty. We have the lowest numbers that we've had since 1882 in police officers who've died on duty. It's down 64% in regards to death by gunfire. And they're up 50% to automobile accidents. So what that tells me is that who the police should fear is themselves, their own disregard for the law, their own disregard for our traffic laws and how they operate the vehicles that we provide them to do their job. You know, and that's what's really killing the most officers out there is them getting in car accidents. It's pretty well documented. I know that 2020 recently did some articles and some investigative work on them and how fast the police go. You know, we see it happening all the time, them on their cell phones, them on their computers. That's what's killing the police officers. So while they're out there killing our loved ones and trying to justify it because they supposedly have this hard job, the truth of the matter is that you don't have one of the top 10 hard jobs in our country, and that the real killer is you killing yourself and not being safe. So they're a public safety hazard, and that's something that I hope viewers really start to look into and be concerned with.
Christina, did you know that in this city you're sitting in right now, Santa Maria, California, about 2 years ago, 2 uniformed cops shot down and killed one of their own cops?
Was he off duty?
I believe they're all on duty. But it's hard to find out because when they had their official news conference, only approved Big C media was invited. Even though I've been doing a show for 14 years,
Yeah, you don't get to go.
they didn't invite me.
No.